Mr. Brooks, the gentleman from Alabama, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It truly is an honor to be in the presence of such an esteemed panel. This question is directed at each of you who wishes to volunteer a response. In your experience, is a NASA-led and run human spaceflight program crucial or important to America's national security, and if so, how? Whoever wishes to go first.
Thank you, sir. Well, I think, I'm on record, I think that the Congress of 50-some years ago got it right with the Space Act when they created a civilian space agency to lead that effort. It has allowed us to conduct extraordinarily effective partnerships with other nations. In my mind, the greatest value of a civilian human spaceflight organization is its national security value. And I'll just take a minute to, because that's an odd comment. The United States is a world superpower. We are a world power, and I think we want to continue to be. And in that role, we have to do hard things. We have to do things that not everyone else in the world wishes we did or likes that we did. It then behooves us as a nation, and I feel very passionately about this, it behooves us to temper those things that we have to do by proactively looking for things we can do to find common cause with other nations, to bind us in alliances and partnerships for things people like to do. Now, as especially Gene has said over and over, young folks, even us older folks, love aviation and space. When we do exciting, challenging, frontier-oriented space projects and do them in a leadership role in concert with other nations to do things that they like to do, this binds us to the rest of the world in a way which is only positive. There is no dark cloud around this particular silver lining. And that, in my mind, only enhances our security, national security, the security of our values and freedoms and culture in the world. And if every dollar that had ever been spent on NASA and the civilian human space program were looked at solely from a national security perspective, A, it would be a round-off error in the DoD budget, and B, it would be worth every penny. I'm sorry to have taken so much time, but thank you.
Well, I have another follow-up question, but if anyone else would like to add something very quickly on this.
Quickly, you know, you've heard in national security, the high ground is most important. Today, in today's world, the high ground is technology. Technology is the high ground, and even more so than the evolution and development of technology, the space program probably moved technology beyond whatever we imagined it could possibly move, and quickly. Very quickly, and by the way, we did so without the destruction of hundreds of cities and the loss of millions of lives. So that's what we need to look at, is the evolution of technology. And if we are static, if we sit here and watch other people develop technology, it's going to affect our economy, it's going to affect the marketplace. It's not just going to affect our ability to go into space, it's going to affect our way of life.
Thank you. I was reviewing the written testimony of Mr. Armstrong, and one paragraph really jumped off the page to me, and I'm going to quote it. The uncertainties associated with the radical changes in space plans and policies of the last 2 years contributed to a substantial erosion of the United States' historically highly regarded space industrial base. Thousands of jobs have been lost, and the space component of the industry is perceived as unstable, discouraging students from considering preparing themselves for entry into this exciting but demanding career path. In light of the relationship between a NASA-led and run human spaceflight program and national security, how does this loss of space industrial base harm national security? Whoever would wish to address that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would say surveillance and reconnaissance are two of the two prime things that are associated with national security, and the same skills that are required to do that on the military side are part of the human space program. Students are never going to be inspired by things that go on the dark side that they'll never hear about, but they're certainly very inspired to develop the technical and scientific skills that are necessary in the civil space program.
When security is an issue, it's generally because there's a perceived threat of some sort, and those threats are often directed toward weakness. And whenever any country has the high ground, as Captain Cernan said, has the technology clearly in hand, is on top of all the various disciplines, and there are no perceived witnesses, it acts as a prophylactic, discouragement of possibly initiating actions that are in the security range.
Mr. Chairman, I see I'm run over time, but may I have 30 more seconds for a concluding remark?
Without objection, gentleman's granted 30 more seconds.
I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, and with great pride would feel the earth shake and hear the boom and roar of the Saturn V as it was tested. The very same Saturn Vs that sent you gentlemen to the moon. And I remember the day that you, Neil, touched down on the moon, and the pride that I had as a teenager in our country. And I pray that this committee and this Congress and the White House will give future generations that same feeling that I was blessed with what you achieved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.